What's good, everyone? OJ here. Welcome back to another video. Today we've got some great topics for you guys, so let's go ahead and get right into it. And we're starting off with something that I found absolutely hilarious that Microsoft even tried to do. Yes, it was 20 years ago, but it's still funny 20 years later. So apparently Microsoft tried to acquire Nintendo and was, quote, like laughed out of the building. So let's go ahead and get into this topic here, guys. So Microsoft has been going through a strong Xbox brand kind of revival, right? I mean, the Xbox Series X and S have been doing pretty good. But Microsoft has had their struggles, especially when they first tried to get into the game, right? They'd been known PC, obviously Windows doing gaming, but they wanted a console. Now, as part of a feature on Bloomberg, it turns out that Microsoft originally approached Nintendo, which we did hear about, but now we have some extra context to this. And they said when the two sides met, Nintendo was just like laughing the entire time. So Mr. Kevin Backus, the former director of third-party relations at Microsoft, had this to say. Bob McCreen, head of business development, the first company we reached out to buy was EA. They said no thanks, and then Nintendo. So EA was like, nah, we're good. Steve Ballmer, former Microsoft CEO, made us go meet with Nintendo to see if they would consider being acquired. They just laughed their butts off. Like, imagine an hour of somebody just laughing at you. That was kind of how the meeting went. Yo, seriously, imagine that Nintendo just sitting there and then just like busting into laughter as Microsoft tries to make their pitch about this. But you know, it gets even more, it gets deeper with this right here. So it turns out that Microsoft's talks with Nintendo didn't end right there. Microsoft was willing to handle the hardware side and then let Nintendo handle the software side with the Xbox, but yeah, that didn't quite work out the way that they wanted either. So McBreen said, we actually had Nintendo in our building in January 2000 to work through the details of a joint venture where we gave them all the technical specs of the Xbox. The pitch was their hardware stunk and compared to Sony PlayStation it did. So the idea was, listen, you're much better at the game portion of it with Mario and all that stuff. Why don't you let us take care of the hardware? But it didn't work out. So Bomber says, I remember loving their content too. Bomber, who's also now I think he's like the owner of the Clippers when it comes down to, so obviously he made a ton of money with Microsoft. And I remember Bomber, I remember him and everything. And I remember during like the 360 era, he was the guy that they had to report to when the whole Red Ring of Death thing happened. And he was like, all right, well, how much is it gonna cost? And they're like, okay, well, it's gonna cost like this many billions. And he's like, all right, well, just get it fixed. And then he like walked out of the room. So Bomber's one of those guys, man. He's always been super confident, like when it comes to the games and the money and stuff like that. So it doesn't really surprise me that Bomber forced them to go over and was like, hey, at least just try. I mean, it might not work at all, but I mean, at least just try to see what's going on there. He's always been more like a optimist type of person when it comes to certain things, and you can tell his attitude when he's on the sideline, like with the Clippers, or on courtside with the Clippers, and how his attitude is and how he's cheering and stuff like that. So he's always been that type of person, you know, that's willing to go out there and do whatever he needs to do. Heck, he's overpaying for, you know, Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. Well, not Kawhi Leonard, but Paul George. So I mean, it makes sense. It just makes sense. So I'm trying to relate it in terms of how he treats his business now with the Clippers and how he did it back then with Microsoft. So very, very interesting story. But yeah, I found this hilarious too, man. Like Nintendo, you're not gonna be able to just go over there and try to buy Nintendo, especially, you know, back in 2000. Nintendo had a lot of successful business with their portable devices too. We're talking 2000, so that's like the Game Boy Color. They're right about to launch like what the Game Boy Advance, right? January 2000. So they're about to launch the Game Boy Advance. I mean, they've got their own things, and yeah, maybe they didn't do as well with the N64 at the time, but they were developing the GameCube, and I think Nintendo honestly thought the GameCube was going to be like the breakthrough back to like what they needed. I mean, you could play the Game Boy Advance games on there with the GBA player. You had a bunch of first-party games on there. You had an easy-to-develop system that was cheap. The system was not expensive for consumers to go out there and pick up. I mean, I really thought that Nintendo thought that they had a great system, because we're talking January 2000, so that means the GameCube came out the following year. So they were working on the GameCube. They were getting things together. So I have no idea why Nintendo would even agree to like the deal at all, but I guess they hear all business stuff. But yeah, Nintendo was rolling with what they're doing, like with the Game Boy. They had the Game Boy Advance coming. They had the GameCube coming up as well. So it made no sense for them to do that. And I think in the long run, obviously, it was the right move, because you want more competition out there. You want multiple different places where people have the option to pick up things. You want that in there. for the business overall. And obviously it's led into other things, Microsoft doing what they needed to do with the Xbox and kind of building what they wanted to do with the Xbox Live and everything. Nintendo kind of doing like all over the place, right? They've had huge success with the Wii, you know, after the GameCube, been crushing defeat with the Wii U, but then back to success with the Nintendo Switch. So it always goes like on a roller coaster with Nintendo when it comes down to it. So what are you guys' thoughts on this? On Nintendo laughing Microsoft out of the building with this one here? And I think that it kind of plays into what Microsoft was thinking when they purchased Rare too, right? Like when they got Rare on their team, like, heck yeah, man, they were the linchpin of Nintendo. They're the ones who really put Nintendo when it comes to their Western stuff, man. So yeah, if we get Rare, we can do the same thing. So very interesting, very interesting. So what are you guys' thoughts on this? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, I'm moving on to the next topic here. It seems like Monster Hunter Rise is going to be a lot bigger than what Nintendo and Capcom even thought, because it's been a while since we've had some piece of software or something come out that crashes the eShop because of all the traffic. But yeah, that's exactly what happened with the Monster Hunter Rise demo recently. So there was a Monster Hunter Rise digital event that I streamed on my channel. You can watch the replay here on the OJ Live section on my channel, or OJ stream section. But yeah, I watched it, I streamed it, I thought it was great. Everyone was happy with the graphics and the presentation and the content in the game, and people are excited for the demo, right? We knew about the demo because there was that Capcom leak, right, that we covered, so we knew that it was probably going to happen sometime soon after the event. So they announced, oh, well, it's going to be available, like, it was confusing when, but it's going to be available soon. At the, you know, at the end of the day, it was soon. It was like tomorrow, or it was that day later, or whatever the case is. So randomly, kind of like out of nowhere, people just started saying, hey, it's on the eShop, like at night. I thought it was going to be midnight West Coast time, but it ended up being hours before that West Coast time. So it was the same day of the digital event, and people just started rushing over there. I don't think there was a, what was it, like a staggered release. They didn't say, hey, it's available in Japan, then it's available in Europe, then it's available in the US. That's kind of how you do it, so you don't have a crazy rush. But it seems like Capcom was like, hey, everybody just go out there and play it. And that might have been a bad idea because eShop goes down. eShop goes down, and Nintendo had to enact some emergency maintenance in order to get things back up and going again. So I was not able to download the demo that night. I was able to download it like the next morning. So I was able to download it the next morning and check out the demo and everything. And from what I've played, from what I have seen, this might be the most impressive third-party game on the Nintendo Switch, hands down. I mean, it just might be that, and I think that by the time that we're done playing everything in this game, or when the game comes out, because everything that I'm seeing in this demo, from the graphics to the content to what it's going to be inside there, what they're doing for the presentation, seems to be completely tuned and in line with the Switch system itself. There's no shortcuts being taken. There's no, oh, shoddiness of being here. You don't have to worry about the comparisons about a version that doesn't exist, right, with like the PlayStation or Xbox, and people saying, oh, well, it runs at this and this. It's just that game built for the system itself, taking advantage and doing the best that it can do on that system. So I think this could be the most impressive third-party game on the Switch, and it's very good. It's very good to see something like this on there and for them to get this game out, because it does look and play amazing. And hopefully I can actually get into this Monster Hunter more than the previous ones, man. I've tried to get into Monster Hunter so much, and I just haven't been able to like hook me, or it hasn't been able to hook me yet. So I'm guessing when this game does launch, we're going to see some massive sales for this game. This could be the best selling, and I'm going to go ahead and just say it right now, this will be the best selling third-party game on the Nintendo Switch system by a large margin when it's all said and done, especially with how much hype is going into this with the demo and everyone just going on there and it crashing it. Haven't seen that before for any other third-party games, I'll tell you that. And we've had demos before for other games. So what do you guys think about this when it comes to Monster Hunter Rise? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. All right, now moving on to the final topic here. I had quite a number of you guys link this to me on Twitter, and I didn't know if I wanted to cover it or not, but you know, whatever. Let's go ahead and let's talk about this. So the Nintendo Switch sold Apparently, in the UK, the Nintendo Switch sold as much as the PS5, PS4, Xbox Series X, Xbox Series S, and the Xbox One combined in 2020. But of course, there's reason for that, which we'll talk about. I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys could figure that out here, but we don't have certain sales numbers. And that's the thing here. Usually I like to talk about the Japanese sales because, they actually give us the solid numbers, or I'll talk about like the MPD because that's the biggest market in the world with the US and everything. But this time, I mean, it's the UK, which is just one slice of the Euro market, right? Which, okay, it is what it is there, but we don't know the sales numbers here. But it is impressive, I guess, to see that the Nintendo Switch sold as much as all those systems combined. Obviously, there were severe stock shortages with the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X in the UK. But it does seem like Animal Crossing was the big reason why, kind of like lifting up what was going on in the UK. Also, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe as well, continuously being the evergreen game too. So like Animal Crossing even outperformed the PS4 version of FIFA 21, and FIFA is huge in the UK. So obviously that was a big boost for Nintendo with Animal Crossing and everything. But like there wasn't enough stock obviously for everyone to get a PlayStation 5 or Xbox Series X. I know UK is usually like PlayStation, so if there was more, maybe it would have, but we don't know exactly how much it did better. We don't know if it was super close. I'm guessing it was really close, but obviously like people already had like a PS4 and Xbox One in 2020, so they were waiting for the new systems and they weren't able to get the new systems because the stock shortages were just severe, pretty much everywhere. So like, it's cool, I guess. It is what it is. Obviously, it's better than what Nintendo's done before in the past when it comes to the UK, but at the same time, I don't put too much stock into it just because we don't know any numbers and because the UK is just one slice of the greater European market that's huge, when it comes down to it. So one area out of all of Europe, but still impressive nonetheless. So what are you guys' thoughts on all the different topics here when it comes to Microsoft getting laughed out of the building, Nintendo Switch eShop getting bodied by Monster Hunter Rise? Yo, the sales are going to be pretty hot on that one. And also the Nintendo Switch selling more than pretty much all the other systems combined in the UK in 2020. What are your thoughts on everything? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this one here. Check out the links in the description. We've got Twitter. Go and give us a follow on there. Stay up to date on all the latest gaming news and information. Also, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and share this video if you can. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will catch you for the next one. Peace.